Alrighty. Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. It is Friday night again here at the Man Cave. So I'm here, we're going to do another live stream and talk about a couple of things. Let me get everything set up here and then we'll get going. Let me bring this up on my laptop here so I can see if I can see what's going on. And here we are. I see it there. And where are we? There we are. Okay, it's Friday. We're going to talk about several things today. I know last week I told you we were going to talk about pizza, and I think that's a great topic. I've got some information together here. We're going to kick off like we do every Friday night with our beer. I hope everybody's going to be able to enjoy one with me or enjoy something else you like. This is called Karmeliet. It's a Karmeliet Belgian Tripel. This is a really good Belgian ale, Belgian strong ale. I can buy this locally, which makes it even better. I don't have to hunt for this. And as far as the Belgian ales that are available to me locally, are the Trappist. Well, this is I don't remember if this is Trappist or not. I think it is. I'd have to look that up. It could be. Anyway, it's real good. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the top on that one and get it in my glass here. This is another really extremely light colored beer. And if you're familiar with the Belgian ales, it has a fruity note to it because of the yeast that is used to bring that beer together. I'll try to set that bottle here where you can see it. And that's really amazing. This one's about 8.5% alcohol by volume. And I don't know what the IBU number on it is. I didn't look it up, but it's so low that it doesn't matter. There's not really much of a hop note to this. It's very minimal. And you can kind of see the color here. When I look on my screen there, that color is probably slightly darker than it really is because I've got my white balance set up here to have a little bit warmer tone on this screen. So, cheers. If you're having a beer with me tonight, let me know what you're having. I wasn't sure what I was going to have tonight, but I'm glad I picked that one now. Just taking a taste of this. I'm a big fan of the Belgian ales and the French farmhouse ales and everything from that region. I just love the style. So, all right. Now, I've had a busy week here at the Man Cave. Some of you already know that. Some of you may not. But the Pellet Joe from Kamado Joe arrived here this week. They've provided me with one of those grills to do what I do with it, which is show it to you and tell you about it. And I'm not going to talk much about the Pellet Joe this week. I'm going to save that for a little bit later because I'm still learning the nuances of this grill myself. I'm going to put a Boston Bud on it overnight and cook it. That'll be a video that's going to come up next week. But we're not going to have a live stream next week because I'm probably going to be somewhere other than here next weekend. I'm taking the weekend off work. My wife and I are going to do something. I don't know what we're going to do or where we're going to do it, but it ain't going to be here. We're going to get away from here for a few days and just relax a little bit. Our vacation schedule has been extremely upset, as has everyone's, by COVID. We just need a break, and I'm not sure what we're going to do yet, but like I said, I won't be here this coming weekend, so we're not going to have a live stream next week. But next week I'll post something, and I want to start collecting questions. I might do a whole live stream and talk about the pellet Joe and answer questions that people have about it, because I know there's a lot of them. I've been really actually disappointed at some of the social media reception we've gotten within the Kamado Joe community about this. It's been really horrible in some cases, so I'm trying to keep that behind me and trying not to let it upset me too badly, because this is a really nice product. I'm really happy with what I'm seeing so far. Okay, and then we talked about the beer, but let's have another taste of that. Yeah, it's still good. Pizza. A lot of people in my audience are Kamado owners, and rightfully so. Kamado is my favorite tool as well. A lot of people buy Kamados because of the abilities they have, one of which is making some really great pizza. And every time I turn on a social media channel on Facebook or wherever it might be and start reading through, I see new owners coming up with pizzas. You know, that's one of the first things a lot of people like to try, and they're having problems. And it's difficult. They've gotten a lot of information from other people in their own communities and their own social media circles about what to do with pizza. Excuse me. And one thing that I see propagating regularly that's a myth that messes people up more than it helps them is they're told to cook your pizzas too hot. The hotter is better thing is not a thing, and it causes more pizza failures than anything I've ever seen. If you've burnt the bottom of your pizza crust, two things happen there. You got some bad information on how hot you needed to cook, and you weren't given all the information you needed because the dough that you bought or the dough that you put on wasn't suitable for that temperature you were cooking at. So let's talk about this. What makes pizza intimidating or difficult? I've made myself a little list here. I think making the dough is probably one of the things that a lot of people find intimidating. I run into a lot of people that want to buy their dough, which is fine. You can buy your dough at Publix, or at Walmart even has bagged dough that you can make pizza out of, and it's pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to work with. People tell me they buy dough from their local pizzeria, which would be a really good idea. I've never tried that, but I'm thinking about trying that sometime. I might go to my favorite New York pizza place here and see if I can buy a little bit of dough, because I've never really perfected my New York style pizza crust, and I'd like to try doing that. But that's one way to do it. But when you get dough like that, when you buy your dough from your local pizzeria or from a grocery store, there's one important piece of information you need to go along with that dough, and that's what temperature does that dough need to be cooked at. If you're buying it from your local pizzeria, ask them how hot they cook it, and then that'll give you some idea of where you need to be to deal with that dough. When you buy dough at the grocery store that comes in a bag or comes in a package, it's going to tell you what temperature it needs to be cooked at, and generally you're going to see those anywhere listed between 400 and 500 degrees. And if you've got a pizza dough that says it wants to be cooked at 450 degrees and you throw it on a 750 degree pizza stone, you can kiss it goodbye. It's not going to behave. It's going to burn black to a crisp before your toppings cook. These doughs that you find in the grocery stores, they do have sugar in them. They have sugars in them. I don't know what the exact ingredients list looks like, but they can't handle that much heat. They're not the right kind of dough. They do great if you keep your temperature down, and we're going to talk about that too. Making the dough seems intimidating. I saw a comment come up here about Darren Wilson. Hi, Darren. Glad you could join us tonight. Darren says making the dough is time-consuming and intimidating. That's one of the myths that I kind of like to try to dispel as well. I did a video. It's in the Kamado Joe library on YouTube, and I think I called it 0 to Pizza in 2 hours. And it's a very fast dough. I made the dough, I mixed the dough, kneaded it, let it rise, shaped it, and I had a pizza on the grill within 90 minutes of the time I started. So it's not really time consuming once you learn the tricks of making the dough. And we're going to talk about that. But shaping the dough is another thing that's intimidating also. And for me, that's the most intimidating part because it's something I have never mastered. I've never mastered shaping the dough. You can read all the books you want. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want on how to shape a pizza dough, and until you've done it a bunch, it's not easy. There's several things that happen that make it difficult. The dough might be what's called elastic. When you stretch it out, it wants to snap back in, and that's frustrating when that happens, when you can't stretch your dough out the way you want it. When that happens, and it will happen sometimes and not others, but when it does, set the dough down, let it sit there for 10 minutes, and then come back to it, and it will have loosened up again. And sometimes you may have to do that twice, but you'll learn, you'll get a routine together if you start making your own dough where you can kind of know when that dough is going to be right. Another thing that's intimidating to a lot of folks is launching the pizza onto a pizza stone with a pizza peel. And I understand why that's intimidating as well. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do when you first get started. There are things you can do to make it easier, and the first thing that people will tell you to do to make that easier is the first thing I want to tell you not to do, and that's to use cornmeal on your pizza peel. It works and it helps, but I might be the only one that feels this way, but cornmeal, when that cornmeal gets on your pizza stone, it burns and it turns black, and I think it has an acrid flavor. I don't like it. It does what it says what it's supposed to do. It helps that pizza slide on the peel, but it doesn't taste good to me when it's been cooked and burnt. Semolina flour does the same thing, and it only takes a little bit of it, and it will not burn, turn black, and get acrid tasting. So if you'll get a little bag of semolina flour and put it in a plastic container with a lid, one little package of that will last you for a long time, because you only need 2 teaspoons or so of it to sprinkle onto your pizza peel before you put your dough up on there. And learning to launch the pizza, you get your dough up on the peel. I like to put my dough on the peel and then top it. I'll get my dough onto my peel, get it shaped the way I want it. Then I'll put my sauces and toppings on there after it's on the peel. That way I don't have to move a loaded pizza. And once you've done that, that pizza's settled there a little bit, you pick the peel up. And you want to give that peel a little shake and get that pizza to where you can visibly see that pizza sliding on the peel. You can see it. If it doesn't slide, you may need to play with it a little bit, and you need to figure that out before you go to the grill with it, because I've seen pizzas come off of peels and they'll roll up, and it's ruined. You know, you can't get it where you want it, or it'll get misshapen horribly when you're trying to get it off the peel onto the pizza stone. So, those are the things that I find that intimidate most people. They're not that hard to overcome if you want to overcome it. Don't let me be the one to force you to make your own dough, but I would love to try to get everybody to try it at least once. So, that being the case, I've printed out this. This is kind of hard to do in a live stream. I'm going to put this up where it's on the screen, and you can come back to this video if you want and stop it and get this recipe. This is a basic pizza dough recipe that will give you great pizza. You will not scorch this pizza, and it can be cooked at about any temperature you want to cook it at. And yes, it is in grams. If you don't want to use a kitchen scale for making your pizzas, you probably should stick with pre-made doughs. And the reason I say that is because you will not get consistent results every time you make your pizza if you're not weighing the ingredients. 1 cup of flour doesn't weigh the same thing every time you measure out 1 cup of flour, because flour packs differently every time you scoop it up with a measuring cup. The best way, if you're going to do that, is to sift it into a measuring cup and then level it off. That's going to give you the most consistent results. But if you've got a scale, you don't have to worry about that. But that recipe is enough to make 3 12-inch pizzas or 2 14 to 15-inch pizzas. And it's very easy to make. And that's the dough recipe I use for a majority of the pizzas that I make now. And the only thing that changes in that recipe is how much yeast I put in it. So that dough, you mix up those ingredients in the bowl of your stand mixer, and you let that knead for about 8 to 9 minutes. After it all comes together into a shaggy dough ball, you let it knead with the dough hook for 8 or 9 minutes. And then you just turn that out into a mixer, into a greased bowl, cover that bowl with plastic, and let it rise in a warm place for an hour. If you start with lukewarm water, that water, I like to start with my water. If I'm going to do a fast pizza, let that water be 100 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. And that helps things get started. And then put that dough in a warm place, cover it with plastic, and let it rise. And in an hour or so, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, it'll have doubled up in size. And what I like to do then is split it out. If I'm going to make 3 pizzas, I divide it into 3 equal pieces. Or if I'm going to make 2, I divide it into 2 equal pieces. And I form it into a dough ball. And then I put it back in another container, and I let it rise for another 30 minutes or so. And then I shape that. One of these days, I might just make a new set of videos on how to do that, because it's not hard to do. And once it's gone through that second rise, I put it on a lightly floured work surface and then shape my pizza. And yeah, I'm not set up here to show you how to shape a pizza. That might be another good live stream one night. I might get dough ready and then show you how to shape it. So that being the case, that's what it takes to make a crust. It's not really that much hands-on time. It really doesn't, it doesn't, crap. I hate it when other things are going on. So it doesn't take much time-wise. You're going to spend 5 minutes measuring out those ingredients. You're going to spend another 10 minutes with it in the mixer, and another 2 minutes putting it in a greased bowl. So you've got 15 to 18 minutes of time there. Then you're going to let it rise for an hour. And then you've got another 5 minutes where you're going to split it out, shape it into a ball, let it rise again. So most of the time involved in making pizza dough is waiting for it to rise. And then preheating your oven, which that's something else we're going to talk about, preheating your grill. Setting up your grill to cook pizzas is a important step as well. If you're using a Kamado grill, which I'm assuming probably most of you here are, I like to get my grate. I actually like to use my accessory rack on the Kamado Joe, but if you're not using a Kamado Joe, you get your grate up at the top level, and you set your heat deflectors on there. And then you need a couple of spacers that you can use. And I'm just sitting here looking. These bottle caps would work. You'd set 3 of these bottle caps on your heat deflector. Set your pizza stone on top of it where you've got an air gap between the pizza stone and the heat deflectors below it. If you put the pizza stone directly on the grill grates above the fire, it will overheat in most cases. It will. You might be able to get one pizza on it, but by the time you get around to the second one, it might be so hot that it won't work, and it'll make a mess for you. So you need that space, and that keeps the top that keeps the pizza stone from overheating. Once you have that set up, after you've lit your grill, you want to control the temperature in your grill and not let your dome temperature for basic pizzas get over 500. You know, keep it at 500 to 525 degrees. Don't let it go crazy. We're not making Neapolitan pizzas here. I'm not going to even talk about Neapolitan pizza for a basic pizza instruction. So it's just not there. That's a whole different ball game. So once you've lit the grill, set up your pizza stone with the space to where it's not exposed to the direct flame, you want to let that grill preheat. Like I said, to get the dome temperature up to 500 degrees. When it reaches 500 degrees, you are not ready to cook yet. That stone and your Kamado need to preheat. And I can't recommend highly enough to let it preheat for up to an hour. It's very important for that stone to be fully heat saturated and your dome lid to be fully heat saturated before you throw that pizza on there. If when you reach 500 degrees in the dome, you throw your pizza on there, two things are going to happen. Your stone's not hot enough, and your pizza's going to stick to that stone because the stone's not hot enough, and it's going to make a mess. And it's not going to cook properly because your dome, the ceramics in your dome are not hot enough to radiate the heat back down to properly cook the top of that pizza. So preheating is important. I can't stress that enough. An hour. If you can go an hour, do it. 45. I would say 45 minutes at a minimum. So get it good and hot. Last week, when I talked about our gadgets, I talked to you about the infrared thermometer. This is a wonderful tool to have if you're making pizzas on a Kamado, because this will tell you how hot your stone is. This will tell you exactly how hot your pizza stone is. And your pizza stone in this configuration may be anywhere from 40 to 75 or 80 degrees hotter than the dome after it's preheated for an hour. And if it is, that's okay. That's not going to give you a problem. So don't worry about it if it is. But if it's 150 or 200 degrees hotter than your dome, you're going to have a problem. So keep that in mind. That's a nice tool to have. If you don't want to make your own dough, that's fine. In fact, to get started, to get the real bug for cooking pizzas on your Kamado, I recommend starting with a take and bake pizza. Go to your favorite grocery store or pizza shop that makes pizzas where you take it home and bake it. Go get one of those. Cook it on the Kamado, because that's going to give you the bug. That's going to give you the urge to do even more, because it's going to make a great pizza. Just follow their cooking instructions. Follow my setup instructions here and follow their instructions on what temperature you need to cook that pizza and for how long. Times and temperatures that they may give you or that you may find on the packaging consider those to be rough guidelines. Here's what you need to cook a pizza. You need to look at it. You'll know when it's done because it's going to look done. It's going to be browned up nicely. It's going to be bubbly in the middle. Your cheese is going to brown. Cook that pizza until it looks like you want it to look. And don't pay as close of attention to the times. They're only for reference, especially if you're cooking in a Kamado, because there are some variables that exist in a Kamado that don't exist in your oven. Your oven, if you've got instructions for cooking in an oven, it's going to be a little different in your Kamado. So, beyond a take and bake pizza, if you want to make your own pizza from scratch and not make the dough, like I said, get the pre-made dough. Publix and Walmart both have pre-made dough. My Publix has it two ways. They've got it in a dough ball, and they've got another one that's already rolled out. And it's just rolled up into a tube where all you have to do is unroll it. If you decide to go to Publix, get that one, because I bought the dough ball, and that was the most elastic dough I've ever tried to work in my life. It took me in half an hour or 40 minutes to get it stretched out. I had trouble with it. So buy pre-made dough, buy it from your pizzeria, shape it, put it on your Kamado and bake it. Do not over top your pizzas. Don't put too much on there. In a Kamado, with that stone, when you're cooking on a stone, most of the cooking's happening from the bottom. You're getting cooking from the top, but it's cooking a lot faster from the bottom. So you don't want your... That's another thing that causes crust to burn, is all your toppings haven't cooked, and you can see that, and you leave it on there longer and longer and longer, and the crust burns in the meantime. So there's a balance there you've got to find. You want to, let's see, don't overtop the pizza. I've got here in my notes to go back to launching, but before I go to launching, I want to talk about that shaping again. That shaping's intimidating. If you find the shaping intimidating of hand shaping these pizzas, put it in a pan. Get yourself a deep dish pizza pan, even though you're not going to make a deep dish pizza. Put that dough in there and use the pan as your mold for shaping that pizza. Get it in there, press it out to the edges of the pan. You'll want to lightly grease the bottom of that pan, because you're going to have two options once you get that pizza shaped out like you want it. You can cook it in the pan. You can just top it, put the pan in there, set the pan on the stone and cook your pizza. You can do that. Or once you've got it shaped out to where it's holding its shape, not collapsing back in on itself, you can take it out of that pan and put it on your peel. You can work from that. So that's another easy way to learn shaping, is to shape in a pan. And if you try that, be sure and let me know how you feel about that and whether that works as well for you as it did the times that I've tried it. And launching those pizzas is a challenge. One other thing I forgot to talk about on the launch is, I did talk about dusting your peel with semolina flour, but you can also use parchment paper. A lot of people use parchment paper and use it very successfully. Just cut your parchment paper to where it fits the shape of your peel, where you don't have a lot of overhang, and get your dough up on the parchment paper, and then you can open your Kamado and you can pull that parchment paper and slide it right off. The parchment paper is not going to hurt anything, even at 500 or 600 degrees. It's going to turn brown, but it's not going to affect the flavor of your pizza, and it does make it very easy to get the pizza off the peel. So, and I talked about building it in a pan. So cooking, I've already hit on that as well. Cook it till it looks like it's supposed to look. Don't focus so much on time and temperature. And here's another tip about cooking on a Kamado. When you can, when you want to look to see if your pizza's done, get a flashlight and open the top vent and kind of look down in there and peek at it. Don't get your face right over that opening, because there's a lot of hot air coming out there. But try to look at it through the top if you can. If you can't, when you want to raise that dome lid to look at that pizza, don't raise it all the way. Raise it just the minimum amount you need to raise it to see what's going on with that pizza, and then close it back down. That way all your heat doesn't escape from the dome. And let it cook adequately, and let it cook, let it brown up nicely. So that's a nutshell. Pizza. I'd love to see more people cooking pizza. I've seen beautiful pizzas come off of Kamado grills in the social media groups. They're really, some of you guys out there are way better at that than I am. I'm nowhere near being a pizza expert. I've never claimed to be. I've had to learn to do pizza, but man, I can sit here and name a bunch of people that make pizzas that are way better than anything I do. So that about covers what I wanted to talk about with pizza. Tyler Kirkland says use a laser thermometer And like I said, I think that came up about the same time I was showing the infrared thermometer. That's the right thing to do. Cindy Scott says Trader Joe's has some pretty good doughs. I hear that as well, and maybe I'm going to try one. I'm just in that situation where Trader Joe's is over an hour away from me. I'm not close enough to Trader Joe's to get everything I'd like to get from them. So Brian Kammer uses a GMG with a pizza oven attachment. Yeah, there's a lot of pizza oven add-ons for various things. The Kamado Joe family has the Dojo, which I'm specifically decided not to talk about here because I know most people don't have the Dojo. So I didn't want to really bring that into the game. But the Dojo solves the problem I was telling you about having to raise the dome up to look at your pizza and lose your heat. The Dojo keeps that lid open and turns it into an open faced front loading oven where you can do that. I know most of you've probably seen the Dojo. Uh, let's see what else. Yeah, Tyler also says I weigh everything when I bake. It's crucial. I'm in that boat now too. I do everything with my scale. Uh, I know some things it doesn't matter, and I know Grandma didn't do it that way, but Grandma wasn't consistent, whether she thinks she was or not. But don't tell her that. Grandma, don't ever talk bad about Grandma's cooking or Mom's cooking. I hope my mom's not watching this, because I'm going to catch hell if she is. I fussed about my mom's cooking one time. Me and my dad both. We made fun of something my mom made that we loved, and we did without it for a couple of years because of that. So don't do that. All right, that's about all I got to say, and I will go back through all of your comments later tonight, and I'll answer anything that any questions that are there. So I want to move into this week's gadget. Somebody said something last week. I don't remember what it was, but it inspired this week's gadget post. I'm going to show you something that's another widely used tool in my kitchen. And these are Microplane Graters. I've got two different sizes of these, or two different coarseness consistencies of these, and I've got several of these because I'm using them so frequently. I use this one, the fine one, mainly. So what do I do with that? When I need minced garlic, this is how I do it. I will peel a clove of garlic, and I'll get it on here and just run it through, and I get a super fine mince. And I actually learned this trick from a book that I have called Serious Barbecue by Adam Perry Lang. If you don't have that book, it needs to be on your shelf. The Microplane Grater is beautiful for mincing garlic, and I use it for that more than anything. But what else I use this for? I use it for nutmeg. That's one thing. I'll get a whole nutmeg. When I need nutmeg for something, I put it on here and grate the nutmeg right then, because the aromatic value of that nutmeg is way better when you're grating it fresh. This can also be used for zesting. I use both consistencies of this for zesting, depending on what kind of zest I'm looking for. Lemon zest, orange zest, lime zest. I get them all from this. Chocolate. If you want shaved chocolate on something, this is the tool that'll give you that. Shaved chocolate's a beautiful garnish on a lot of things. Cheesecake, for instance. If you've got a cheesecake and you've put some topping on it, let's say, for instance, you've made a cherry or a strawberry topping to dollop on that cheesecake, or even if it's just a bit of homemade sour cream, a little garnish of shaved chocolate and a mint leaf, the Microplane Grater is going to give you that shaved garlic. If you guys have Microplane Graters, which I'm sure a lot of you do, tell me what you like to do with them. And if I didn't cover most of what you might do with them, what do you use yours for? Because I'd always like to find more things to use mine. I grate some cinnamon occasionally. I buy cinnamon two ways. I buy it ground and I buy it in sticks. And every now and then, I will shave cinnamon or grate cinnamon with the microplane as well. And yes, Cindy says it's best for the garlic. It's super for garlic. It's amazing, and it's I don't buy minced garlic in the jar ever. I'm always grating mine on the fly. Another thing I've learned, and I don't want to tell you this works all the time, but it works a lot of the time. You can cheat when it comes to peeling your garlic if you're using one of these microplane graters. A lot of times, I'll just cut the hard stem end off of the garlic clove, and then go to the point end and start running it here, and the peel won't go through the grater. It'll spread out, and then the garlic comes through, and you can cheat and sometimes get away with not peeling your garlic if you're using one of these. I suck at peeling garlic. I'm trying to find the best way. I've tried the shaking it in the jar thing. I've tried a lot of other things, but I spend way more time peeling garlic than I do mincing it. Anytime I've got to peel a lot of garlic, I try to do it in advance because I refuse to buy peeled garlic. I don't know why that is. If you've got a trick, for peeling garlic, tell me what it is. Fresh ginger. Yeah, Cindy says you don't have to peel the ginger. I still peel mine because the ginger peel will grate through. And I saw a thing. I think I saw Alton Brown do this. I can't remember who I saw do it, but peeling ginger is real easy. You just take a spoon and take the edge of the spoon and just scrape the outer peel off the ginger. It comes off very easily and it works beautifully. So, yep, the microplane grater is another tool that gets used just all the time here. I've got those two, and I've got two more over there that are two different coarseness levels. Actually, the other two I've got, one of them is super fine like this, and the other one's a regular cheese grater. I don't like buying grated cheese either. I buy it on the block, grate it myself. So that's all I've got. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And like I said, I won't be here next week. Well, we'll be back 2 weeks down the road for another live stream from the Man Cave Kitchen. And on that live stream, I'm hoping we can talk about the Pellet Joe. So if you're interested in the Pellet Joe, if you've got any questions about it or anything you'd like to see done with that system, let me know, because I'm going to make a series of videos here on it. Since it's a new product, I'm going to work it really hard and try to show all the things that guy's capable of doing. So, guys, I appreciate it. Until next time, this is John Setzler.